In today's episode, we are going to be talking about the possibility of ease and flow in your business and what to do when that doesn't even seem possible for you. When you hear those words and you hear people working 3-day work weeks and have so much flow in their business, and you think to yourself, is that really possible? That's what we're going to tackle in today's episode. I'm going to give you a couple of hard-hitting questions to ask yourself and remind you that your reality is a mirror towards your internal self, and why sometimes not believing that or not stepping outside of your reality can just be a huge shift in your comfort zone, which is why so many people don't do it. So let's talk about what it really takes to create an ease-filled, flowy business and how this can be possible for you too. Let's dive in.
I'm your host, Tiffany Chung, your go-to for all things marketing, mindset, and manifestation. I grew my online business from 0 to beyond 6 figures in 8 months. My purpose is to empower women to step into the highest, most aligned versions of themselves. If you are ready to take charge of your life, learn how to design a wildly successful business, and leave limiting beliefs behind, you've come to the right place. You will learn the actionable tips and step-by-step strategies on money, manifestation, and social media. It's time to step into your role as boss, to raise your vibration and tap into your unlimited potential today. Welcome to the Social Reset Podcast.
Hello, welcome back to the podcast. Today we're going to talk about ease and flow, and I'm specifically talking to the people that feel like that's not available to them, that it doesn't seem possible to them or to anybody else, that it essentially feels like one big marketing tactic that feels really dreamlike and fantastical and is just something that people say but don't actually experience. So I want to talk to that and to the people that do not believe in it for a moment, because I think that this is an important conversation to have. And I think that at one point that was me too. And I know what it's like to kind of scoff and be like, okay, great. Good for you, right? Which I was never really coming from that energy, but I was more so like, what? Like, what am I doing wrong? So anyway, I have a whole episode on like quote unquote doing things wrong, which you really can't do it wrong. But I want to ask you a couple of questions first of all. So again, talking to the person that doesn't really believe that ease and flow is possible in building a business. So the first question I want to ask you is, how does it serve you to continue living this narrative that a flowy, easy business doesn't exist? I'm going to repeat that again, because it's probably not something that we think about constantly. How does it serve you to tell yourself that a flowy, easy business does not exist? What do you get out of that? What comfort zone do you continue staying in, where you don't have to take responsibility, where you don't have to really look at your business practices and your business plan? How does working hard and hustling, opposite of flowy, easy, how does working hard and hustling actually create a feeling of familiarity for you? So if you're someone that is comfortable in the chaos because that is maybe what you've grown up in, maybe that is something that you have just accepted as your new normal. And so a part of you, your subconscious brain, seeks out the chaos and then kind of makes a home for itself there because it feels like nothing comes easy, right? And that's even what is it called? That's a phrase that people say all the time, right? Nothing good comes easy. If it's easy, it must not be good, right? Think about how harmful that is if we lived our lives that way, not ever letting anything be easy. And I do want to say, this is not to push away hard work that is aligned to you. This is not to push away delayed gratification, especially in business, right? There are some things that happen that are easy and are not meant for us, right? Sometimes the carrot dangling in front of us, that's a super easy instant gratification, is not the best thing for us. I totally get that, right? But I want to say, and I want to open you up to the possibility that there are incredible, powerful, magical things that do also happen with ease. And with that said, sometimes creating that ease and flow in your business takes hard work to get there. Sometimes it takes years and years of building in order to fully experience the extent of that ease, right? Maybe it looks like jumping on a bunch of consult calls before you really, really understand your client's brain and their struggles and exactly how you can serve them and how you can help them, right? Before you take them off completely. I know I had to do a year of consults. That was consults. Sometimes I would have 3 a day. I jumped on hundreds. And someone can look at what I used to do was an application process. Now it's just a checkout link, but someone can look at my application process or my now checkout link and say, oh yeah, must be so nice and easy for her, right? But it's because I've gotten to a place where I can sell, I can market, not just in the DMs, but just through my copy, because I have years now of experience of doing it. I've been doing it so much. I've jumped on multiple hundreds of consult calls from Monday to Friday when I was building my business. I'm still building it. I'm scaling now, but you know what I mean. Sometimes I would do them on Saturdays, sometimes Sundays. Sometimes I would have them every single day of the week, right? And you don't have to do that. I very rarely did that. It was mostly Mondays through Fridays, but I would take on all the sales calls I could because guess what? I was building my business. I wanted to get to know my clients so well, and I wasn't going to pass up an opportunity to get to know them and how I can help them. And if it was a no, it was a no. But at least I got to understand the inner workings of their brain a little bit more. At least I walked away knowing, okay, what could I have done better? What would I have done differently? What will I do differently next time? Right? Even if it was a no. Even if it was a, no, this is not for me at all, or I'll get back to you and then you never get back to me, I still learned something. I took everything as a learning experience because I opened myself up to that. And now because I've done that work, I feel so much more ease when I'm selling. I know exactly what my clients are looking for. I feel so much flowier because I've done that upfront work. Okay, so ease and flow isn't necessarily something that you jump into instantaneously as soon as you jump into building your business. Oh, okay, I'm only going to work 2 days a week and this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to rack in, multi 6 figures in the first couple of months. Yep, let's do it. Super easy, super flowy. I'm just going to, do what feels good. Sometimes that's not available in the very beginning of building your business. And I teach you the framework of what you can do in the beginning of your business. And this doesn't mean overworking and hustling, but it means opening up yourself to taking aligned action, maybe a lot of aligned action, maybe messy and scary action in the very beginning, because that is what is so powerful for you to learn and to expand and to evolve from, to get to a place of ease, to get to a place of more flowiness. I also want to talk about another reason why this is something that we don't really embrace with open arms right away. It's because our entire lives, and from what we've learned from our parents, it typically isn't ease and flow when building a business, whether entrepreneurship, whether you're a parent, both parents or guardians are in entrepreneurship, or they are employees working for corporate, they have a day job, right? They're doing something for somebody else. Typically, it's very, very rare if somebody looks at their parents and goes, yeah, they've built a business and they've opened themselves to a lot of ease, they've opened themselves up to a lot of flow. Typically what we hear, especially if you are a child of immigrants, it's they hustled. They had no other choice, right? They were in survival mode. My coach, her mom was cleaning homes for a living and was 9 months pregnant with her, scrubbing toilets and bathrooms and floors and walls and really hustling because that was how they made money, right? That was the life. That was the reality. And not everybody has the privilege to be able to A, go into business for themselves, and then B, then be able to create that ease, right? So there is so much power and privilege to you even just listening to this episode, being open to the idea of creating your business. A lot of our parents didn't even have that capability, right? Which is why I think it's so powerful. I work with a lot of people of color where a lot of their parents were immigrants. A lot of my students are rewriting that story of their lineage, of their heritage, of their families, and being able to go into entrepreneurship. And it gets to be a really, really powerful story that you rewrite for yourself. So just want to remind you that for our parents' generation, the generation before, and what we've been taught through industrialism and working harder and better and faster and stronger and more productivity, right? All of these narratives are what we've known kind of up until this point. Creating a flowy, effortless business is a lot more of a recent narrative than one that's been passed down for generations. Typically what we hear is you need to work extremely hard to make a little bit of money. Money is really, really hard to come by, but it's really easy to spend. That's what I heard pretty much my entire life growing up, was to understand the value of a dollar, because guess what? It's super, super hard. And then it's super easy to spend. So guess what? My relationship with money was exactly that. Whenever I would make money, it would be a hustle, and then it would never even stay in my bank account. It would be like in and then right out because it would just be spent right away, because I had that narrative and thought of like, oh, I can't hold on to money, right? Because that's just what I've been taught. And it wasn't until I really sat down and went, okay, I want to create a brand new money story. I don't want to hold on to this anymore. I don't want to live this way anymore. I want to rebuild my relationship with money. I want to be able to make money in an ease-filled way, in a fulfilling, flowy way, in a way that really aligns with my energy and just how flowy I am. I wanted it to be easy. I think for someone that doesn't understand that and isn't willing to accept that that's even possible, that can feel so far away because it goes against everything we've ever been taught. But I want to remind you that making money doesn't need to be treacherous. It doesn't need to be painful. It doesn't need to be the result of you working yourself into the ground every day of the week. It can come from intentionality. It can come through being coached on it. It can come through really holding that space for yourself. I needed to be coached on this. I was so deep in my hustle. I was working like 10, 12-hour days. I didn't even honestly know what I was doing half the time. I was just kind of on the laptop because I felt like, oh, okay, well, I finished the main thing I needed to get done. So maybe I'll work a little bit on this and maybe I'll work a little bit on that. And then it just created this addiction to working without even really focusing on anything specific and not ever being able to outsource anything because I just felt like I needed to be the one doing it all. So I really need to get coached on it, and I need to coach myself on it and to be able to really get intentional on the main things that I needed to get done, and then not having to work several hours a week. And that's not always needed, right? You can spend a couple of hours coaching, couple of hours on sales calls, couple of hours doing admin work or behind the scenes work, business onboarding, things like that. But it doesn't need to be hours and hours and hours on end always, right? It doesn't always need to look like that. And so for me, at least, it was a matter of identifying what were the main things that were going to generate revenue for me. What are the main things that I can really focus in on and give my energy to? And what are some things that I needed to release? What did I need to release? So if you take anything away from this episode, I just want you to know that it's possible for you too, as a coach, to experience effortlessness. This does not mean that you're never going to have days where you work hard, put in extra hours. It doesn't mean that you're never going to feel overwhelmed again, but it just means as a whole, as a majority, if you look back into your business, you're going to look back and say, yeah, most of that was easy and effortless and felt good, right? You're not saying and looking back and thinking, yeah, most of that was extremely overwhelming and extremely draining. That's not what we want to work towards, especially if you're going into business for yourself. This just means that ease, lightening the load while making more money is a possibility. It's something that you are able to do. So I want to ask you why, if you feel like this is really hard to believe, and maybe you're one of those people that are kind of like eye rolly and kind of scoffing at the idea, which is okay. Why is that so hard for you to believe? Why is that so difficult to get a grasp on? What layer of comfortability or familiarity does hustling hard and extremely hard draining work bring to you? What does it allow you to prove to yourself and others? What kind of social status or way that other people are looking at you does it give you? What new self-concept do you want to build instead? I know for me, because I was the struggling single mom on food stamps, working 3-4 jobs, going to school, working really hard and being really busy, and also just being in a state of struggle and survival mode because it was my life for so long. I didn't realize that I could let go a little bit once I started making money, once I started becoming my own boss. I was like, wait, I don't need to hold on to that narrative anymore. That is no longer serving me. I don't need to believe that self-concept of myself anymore. I'd become so addicted to working hard because it was just the thing that made me who I was. I found myself in that. I found myself in the identity, and I would lose myself in all the things that I needed to do. I couldn't even rest because I knew that there was always something to get done. The house needed to be cleaned. The baby needed to be fed, right? But as Alaska got older and needed me less and less, she can go and do things on her own. Like I'm teaching her how to cook right now. And she's so organized. I didn't need to hold on to that anymore. And I found myself still that old version of me still was clinging like, hey, what about me? What about me? Right? And I'm able to love on that old version of myself and say, hey, I am no longer you anymore. I am no longer you. I don't need to be you anymore. There was a point in my life where I needed to be that version of me, and I no longer am. And I can be safe in my new identity. I can be safe being who I am and expanding into a new version. So maybe there is an older version of you that did need to hustle, that did need to be in survival mode all the time. Maybe there is a version of you that saw your parents hustling and working really, really hard and really late nights and barely putting food on the table, right? But maybe that doesn't need to be you. Maybe that is not the legacy that you are meant to carry on. So what simple steps can you take in your business to cut down the heavy lifting? What is the heavy lifting for you right now? What does that look like? What can be outsourced, and what is draining you? And here's my last reminder for you. You don't need to hold on to anything that drains you in your business. The more drained energy leaks you have, the more you will feel the need to hustle, the more overbearing it'll feel. Give yourself permission to let go of some of that, or at least change your perspective on it or lighten it a little bit. See where you can ask for help. See where you can outsource things. See where you can just let go of things completely. Because guess what? If you give all of your energy to things that are no longer in alignment for you, you're not going to be able to show up 100% to the things that you are a genius in. Okay? So I want to leave that with you today. If you just walk away with this podcast telling yourself, I am now open to the possibility of creating an effortless, ease-filled, flowy business, then that's beautiful. Just remember, your thoughts create your reality. Your thoughts create feelings that then inspire actions that then create your results and therefore your reality. All right, I'll catch you in the next episode.
so much for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe. If this episode resonated with you, please take a screenshot, share it on your Instagram stories, and tag me at tiffanychung.co. I truly appreciate interacting with every one of you. Catch you all on the next one.